start here, and then I just want to know. Well, really, what we're talking about today is just like going over what your goals are. And we go to present. Can you see my screen?
No, not yet. I just still see you.
Uh,
I've actually found that Teams is a little more user friendly. Now I can see it. But that's what I use with work. So, like,
you know
Teams
what?
for me is just second nature.
I'm gonna have to look in the Teams. I actually think I have a Teams account.
Teams seems to be a little more user friendly than Zoom.
Yeah, I think I have a Teams account. So what we're doing today is really just kind of going over, reverse engineering your goals. And since this is the first time I've done this, this is our Think It Out Thursday. So this will be a weekly installment, and with this being the end of the month, I really feel like, let me cut this. I really feel like it's necessary to talk about goals and where you want to be at, income wise. So and I know you work in the social space, but let's talk about, since you're here, hey, and congratulations. I'm gonna have to give you a gift or something to be because you're the first participant in our Think It Through Thursdays. And so I'm gonna give you a singular certificate or something. Can you hear me?
Well, that's, yeah. I mean, that's not necessary. I'm here to support and learn, and that's the your purpose in the group on school, and
Yeah.
I'm interested to know how a man with so many hats wears so many hats, and how you process, like, through all of the stuff that you do.
Mhm.
How does your thought processing work as far as goal setting and, just kind of managing projects that you have? Because you have so much going on. And I know one day I mean, I have a lot going on, but not on a comparable scale, I would think.
Yeah, so I know that one of the things that I feel like I do is I try to block noise out, different things that can become unnecessary noise. And I know I've definitely refined that this over the past year or so, and just really like laser focusing on being laser focused on like what's my biggest, three things that I need to take care of today. And I do plan for like a month. I'll say, okay, what are my plans for a month? I know my overall plans for, a 5 year period. Like, where do I see this business being in 5 years? And so with that vision in mind, that's where I break stuff down to a microcosm, to where, okay, this is my goal for this next quarter, this is my goal for the next month, and this is my goal today. So this week I know what I'm trying to accomplish this week, but each day I know that I have to break stuff down incrementally in small steps, because you can't eat an elephant in one bite. So if I'm taking small bites, I know that my mindset is, let me improve by 1% each day. And
Hmm.
then the whole, I really can't go bigger than that. But 1% is a lot in the whole grand scheme of things, of where, even when I look back on last 20 years, from 20 years ago to now, improving 1% each day, it starts to compound on itself. And so I think that's the mindset that most successful entrepreneurs have, as far as like, okay, I need to improve each day incrementally. It gets
Right.
difficult with me, because I look at businesses and I see so many opportunities in business, that once I see something, I literally will already like have gone through like a whole business plan on something, immediately. Like, you could say, hey, I could pick up this bottle of vitamins here and say, oh yeah, if we want to sell this, I already have a business plan together from beginning to end on how we should like package it, how we should market it, the distribution channels we should go through. And so my mind start works rapidly like that. And that's where I have to always reel myself in and say, okay, slow down, grasshopper.
Hmm.
Let's take it in small bites. And then from there, let me sift through this. Does this apply to what I'm doing. And my ultimate business is real estate. So is our, so when I bring on little ancillary businesses like taxes or credit repair, do they currently complement what I'm doing? Can I talk to my current client who is in the market for buying a house? Can I help them with one of these ancillary business? Credit repair, yes. Taxes, yes. Insurance, yes. And so that's kind of how I've, structured all of these different things. Everything is really like vertically integrated to where they work with each other. From there, the challenge is putting the systems in place, and people is always a challenge. Like, your personnel and finding the right people. Stuff happens. God, whether it's hiring the wrong person, who, just hiring the wrong person,
Right.
or something tragic that happens. Those are challenges that you go through as an entrepreneur. And so I think, like, what the big thing each month is, I have to examine what my target is as far as where am I trying to be at income wise. And I started doing this more over the last few months, as far as like, let me really reverse engineer. And I used to do this actually with all my home building projects. I would say I would reverse engineer what my profit would be at the end of the day. I actually think I talk about that in my course Flip. So I would always know, like, okay, this particular deal here, if we're going to build here, we're going to, at the end of the day, if I want to be at this particular price point, what's selling in that neighborhood, right? At, let's say, $100 a square foot. What type of product do I need to put in this neighborhood for me to be able to reach that goal of $100 a square foot, which is what I'm trying to make on that particular house in that particular neighborhood. And from there, what am I building for? What price per square foot are we at on from a building perspective? Then that gives me a bird's eye view, where I'm looking back saying, okay, I know that if we want to be here at, let's say, $500,000, at $100 a square foot, I need to be able to build for X amount of dollars. I need to be able to have, I need to build so many square feet in order to reach this goal to give me X amount of profit at the end of the day. And so that's how I do deals. And so it really, that same process, whether I'm reverse engineering a real estate deal, a house flip deal, it applies to businesses as well. So it's like your 5-step process here. You're defining your target income early, breaking down the income into smaller units, identifying all potential revenue streams, and then, of course, calculating your necessarily day-to-day activities. And that's what, I was talking about as far as, improving, incrementally. And then just having your business plan. What's your plan of action? And so, let's come up with it. We could come up with a business. Let's say you're selling, perfect example. Like I said, let's say we're selling these vitamins here. These are dandelion root vitamins, 500 milligrams. And if you're selling these for, let's say, $20 a bottle, and we know that our manufacturing costs and our distribution, let's say we're in it for $10 a bottle, shipping, etc., and we don't want to know what our net profit is at the end of the day. So each unit, we're going to be at $10 per bottle, right? And I want to make $1 million. Say, okay, we need to make $1 million. So I need to be able to, like, turn around and say, okay, if I'm gonna make $1 million off these at $10 a bottle, I know I need to be able to sell 10,000 of these units, right? Is that right? 10,000? Yeah.
Yeah.
So at 10,000 units, how many of these per month do I need to sell? So, on a 12-month, play, at 10,000 units, I think that comes out to about like 8,200 or something along those lines. So if I need to sell 80, I'm sorry, yeah, 10,000. Oh my God. See, now I'm curious. I could have used an even number. Yeah. So like about 820 is going to bother me. 10,000 divided by 833. I was close. So I knew I need to move 833 units per month to reach my 10,000, units that I need to sell per year, so I can make that $1 million net profit at the end of the day, right? So from there, to get that 833. I wonder, can I write on screen? See, I didn't want to go through that. See, that's why I like using Loom too. I have a Loom account because I can write on here.
Think there is
Should be a tool or something somewhere.
it may not be on my side. There should be a pencil.
Ah, there it is. Oh my God. Okay, so perfect. And this is a good screen. So yeah. So we already established that. Let's change the color. Let's make it yellow. Let's make it thicker too. I make it okay. Nevertheless, we've already established that we wanted to make $1 million, right? Million plus. And we said, okay, in order for us to do that, we need to sell. Let's go to this. In order to do that, we said, okay, we need to sell 10,000 units. All right. Now, and we also came to the fact that in 12 months, that comes out to
833.
Yeah, that equals 12 months times 833 units. Adios meals. Come on. Oh, there. Let's move that around. I like the. Anyway, we came to the conclusion as 833 units per month. Now, the real question that we have to ask ourselves to get that 833 unit per month, what is our true cost to capture selling one of those units, and how many people do we need to reach to be able to sell 833 units? So I'm like, okay, if we're at, let's say, what's our acquisition cost for us to get per unit? How many people do we need to be able to reach per unit? So I know that typically on a product like this, should see a 40% conversion. So let's say our conversion is 40%. And this is something that you refine over time with your product as you start to sell. So if we're at 40%, meaning that out of every 10 people that we market, whether we're running Facebook ads or with Instagram ads, and we're exposing those, for every 10 people that we're exposing those to, 40% are converted. So out of 100 people, let's say if we're going 40%, come down here, we got more space. So if we're running ads for let's go bigger number, 1,000 people, if that's giving us 400 sales, then we know in order for us to reach this right here, then we need to do that times two, right? So we need to be able to reach 1,000 people per month from an advertising standpoint to reach our goal of 800. And this is muscle minutes, more or less, right? So, and these are just small numbers in a quick crash course on reverse engineering your money. So now, if we say, okay, well, we need to be able to reach 1,000 people at our 40% to get this, what's it costing us to be able to get here is the true question. And that's really what it comes down to when you're reverse engineering what your income is. And let's say you said, hey, I want to make $2 million. Well, you want to make $2 million this year. What do you need to do? You need to just double that. So now this goes from not only exposing this to 2,000 people a month, we need to expose 4,000 people a month to our product that we're selling, right? So if we want to do that.
And does that work regardless if it's does that ideology work regardless if it's like an actual, vitamin bottle or even, something that's tangible? What if it's a service that you offer? Because my brain is going to when I finish law school.
Absolutely. Hey, and that's a great segue, right? So case in point, let's say it's law school. Let's say not law school. Let's say you are, and let's make sure we're on the same page. You're saying, okay, you're going to law school, you graduate from law school, you have a law practice now.
Right.
And you're saying, okay, what's my acquisition cost to get me one client, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your client is the product. It's a service you're providing. And the difference between a service and a product is, yes, you're selling the product. And the difference between the product is that it's not time consumed. A service, yes, it's time consumed. It takes you time to sit there with that client. It takes you time to, work on their case because you're providing that service. That's the difference between a service and a product that you're selling. With me, I could sell my client this product one time and keep it moving on to the next client. But with that service, you're offering that service. But, of course, you're making 40% off of whatever, if you're doing, like, let's say you're doing personal injury, and that would be, an ideal, scenario for this. So if you drive around Houston right now, you see push and win advertisements everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why they're doing that is because those billboards are their cheapest form of client acquisition to get this thousand right here. They say,
Hmm.
okay, what they do is they look at what's their traffic count that's driving down the freeway. So they're able to pull those numbers from the Texas Department of Transportation, what the traffic count is. Whenever you drive down the freeway, if you ever see these guys on the road with these little strips and they're out there, little thin strips, they're counting how many cars are passing through. The Texas Department of Transportation, they keep traffic counts as far as like in a given day, how many people are driving on these highways. That's important for them to keep track of because a number of different things. It helps them figure out the wear and tear on the road over time. They track a ton of stuff, but they also resell that information to people like advertisers who want to say, okay, we have if you run an ad on this particular billboard that we're going to charge you $3,000 a month for this billboard for this in this one area right here, but you're going to be exposed to over 1 million people per day, 1 million drivers per day. Let's bring it back. Let's say 100,000 drivers per day that
Hmm.
drive by this billboard, right? And so that's how they sell ads. I mean, and so now you're saying, okay, well, I've exposed my message to not just 1,000, but I've exposed my message to 100,000 people per day, and that my cost was 3,000 for the month. So I'm paying 3,000 a month for that ad. But that 100,000 per day, they gotta come up with something better than this. I gotta figure this out. So let's say that 100,000 per day and 30 days, it comes out to and hold on one second. So let me pause for 1 second. I got a client just walk in. That comes out to 100,000 times it's like 3 million. So the impression is like 3 million. Is that right? Per month.
Hmm.
And if they're charging $3,000 per month for that billboard, well, now I'm exposed to 3 million people per month and it's costing me 3,000. Now the question is, what's my conversion? So if you convert, let's say out of this 2%, let's say out of those 3 million people, if you converted, no, let's make it even smaller than that. Let's say you converted 1% of those people out of that 30 million, those 3 million per month, you're talking about now 3,000 potential prospects, right? 1%.
Hmm.
And out of those 3,000, so that's 3,000 calls on a conversion, 1%. And that might be more of an accurate number for like a billboard. Say maybe 1% of those people call, especially with a high traffic count. So if I got 3,000 people who, once I put this billboard up, and actually a billboard with this high traffic counts, they probably charge more than this. You'd probably have to call, what's the name of those people? One of the ad companies. They always have the name at the bottom of the billboard. You just look them up and call, and they'll tell you they have usually different prices per location, how much they charge. 1 second, Michelle. Someone walked in.
Hmm.
Sorry for breaking this up. All right, sorry. Had somebody here at the office.
No, you're fine. So I looked it up, billboards in Houston.
Huh?
So I looked it up. Billboards in Houston range anywhere between $825,000 a month.
800 and how much?
Between 800 and 25,000 a month.
Yeah, that's about right. So some with this high traffic count, like, let's say on like Interstate 10 or something, you probably would be in that 25. I was thinking 30,000 a month, but yeah, that's about right. You're gonna pay probably $25,000 a month. But the thing is like I said, let's say that turns into 3,000 potential prospects that call because you're getting 3 million impressions per month. Now you got 3,000 potential prospects who've called. So those 3,000, let's say you convert 20% of those into clients. 20%. Let's make it even more reasonable. Let's say you convert 10% of those into clients. Of those 3,000 people, that's now 300 clients that you have that come in on an intake, right? And from a lawyer perspective, that means they engage with you, they sign engagement with your law firm. Now you got 300 clients in the pipeline and you've got 300 different, cases you're working. So your question now you moved on to the next phase in terms of from a legal perspective, how are you handling those clients? How are you, able do you have, it's like a company like Push and Win, they're going to have, they've got a department set up that's just handling nothing but in.
Yeah.
They're on the phones, they're doing the engagement letters, they're engaging the client. Then from there, they probably got another department that's handling, all of the upfront intake with whatever legal docs, gathering, because they do all personal injury stuff at Push and Win, right? So you've got a whole nother department doing that, and those attorneys are not stepping in until at the end, once they start getting all the facts, and then they're going to sue somebody, because you have to be able to do large numbers with a law firm, because you're going to have different clients at different phases of the legal process, whether with a lawsuit. So yeah, that's how that would work from a legal perspective. And the cool thing is this: with technology right now, with artificial intelligence, and I've got a whole module in there. I don't know if you saw it, with the artificial intelligence, you really could use AI to help you craft a whole onboarding platform. There are some AI apps out now for attorneys that do everything from the intake of the client to the onboarding of, even structuring legal paperwork. And these attorneys are just slapping their feet on there and being able and doing the work. So that's the beautiful thing about, the legal game is, a lot of that stuff is repetitive, same contracts and stuff over and over. You just got to be an attorney to make the money, right? So yeah, that's the name of that game from a legal perspective, and that's what personal injury attorneys are doing. But that's why they have their billboard all over the place. They're just casting a big net over the marketing, because they know, and it's a cheap form of marketing too. You're either doing that or you're running Facebook, Instagram ads, but the concept is still the same. At the end of the day, all of these, that's what everyone is doing, and they're ultimately trying to reverse engineer, like, how much money do they need? I mean, how many clients do we need to see feasibly to make X amount of dollars for our law firm?
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to do the same thing if you're in real estate, or like I said, if you're selling vitamins, or if you're selling energy drinks.
Mm-hmm.
Anything. So that's what it's all about, is reverse engineering. I'm still struggling with this. There we go.
So how do you in a business platform? Because obviously I don't own my own business and I never have. So
Mhm.
how do you, because before you can reverse engineer anything, you have to have a platform in order to reverse engineer it to figure out those quantities. So from a business perspective, how do you start working into the mainframe of like, say again, I graduate from law school, probably going to have to work somewhere for a while to get some sort of investment money set up before I can start my own law, like my own private practice.
Or you could just, partner with somebody, a
Yeah.
solid investor who's not necessarily an attorney, but they may have some investment capital put in place to help
Mm.
launch. So yeah, a friend of mine, Joe Stevens, he's an attorney now. He's also a precinct 3 judge. He didn't immediately go to work for a law firm, but he did have financial means. He's played for the Houston Rockets, and but he's an attorney. He's got a law practice, and he's got quite a bit of business in the pipeline now from his legal practice. And I think, yeah, and all of that is like personal injury stuff that he's doing. So there's a lot of different ways to go about it. Being a lawyer now is it's a higher end real estate broker, and from that, and I don't want to say from that standpoint, because you got so many different areas that you can go into with law. It just gives you a lot more flexibility of things that you can go into from a legal, if you are an attorney.
Mhm.
But you could market yourself in a number of different ways. But if you wanted to open your own law practice, all it takes is one. It takes one client. I know Joe was telling me about a friend of his who finished law school. Literally, his first client was like a personal injury deal. They were suing a refinery or something, or an explosion at a refinery, and man, the dude's payout was like, put it like this: the lawyer's percentage, first legal case, he made 12 million in legal
Mm.
off of one case. He was telling me his boy, he literally he was like done. He's like, I'm retired.
I don't blame him.
Well,
Although,
first legal case, he literally like cleared 12 million in legal fees alone. He's like, I'm done.
wow.
And that's kind of like a unicorn type deal, but that
Mm.
obviously for some.
I do plan on interning my 1L year, my 1L summer. I want to intern at a personal injury law firm because I am interested in personal injury, but I don't know if that's exactly where I want to go.
Where you want to go? Yeah, it's a lot of different, so many different areas that you could go into. Um,
Who knows? I may love tax law.
Tax law, claims, being here in Texas, especially Houston area, there's a big business for that with claims and people who are, suing their insurance company because insurance doesn't want to pay out. So there's a ton of opportunity there as well. But yeah, this is what, ultimately what it's about. This is, the end of the month, really have defining your specific goals, and that's where we're ultimately going, with this whole part of it. But it's good that you brought that up because that gives you something to think about, like, hey, where can I really, really, once I become an attorney, where do I make my money at? How? And you should be thinking along those lines of how do I scale? Or even if you don't want to scale as big, hey, how do I have a constant flow of business where you're like, hey, even if you say I want to focus and work with 10 clients per month so I can give them the best quality service. You don't necessarily have to be like a push and win. You don't need 3,000 clients coming in because you might not necessarily want all that overhead. But even if you want to stay on a small scale, that way you could pick and choose and have a clear direction as far as how much you need to expense each month to be able to generate the revenue you need to sustain your business. So always think about it in terms of, let me reverse engineer what my financial goals are and what's my acquisition cost per customer. What does it cost me to produce this product, or what does it cost me to produce this service? Because even if you're like providing a service, time is money. So you got to look at like your time as like your manufacturing cost. Like, look at it like that. Like, hey man, if it's going to cost me, if I got to spend 10 hours on this, my time is X amount of dollars per hour. These are my manufacturing costs. My net profit need to be this at the end of the day. Your time,
Yeah.
you're getting compensated for your time is the actual investment. So you still need to profit something over what your time is.
That makes sense.
That's a good way to look at it. So
Because I know there is one thing that I've kind of heard notoriously from many different attorneys and people who are currently in law school is that they don't teach you the business aspect of being an attorney after you finish and how to start your own practice, how to manage like just a foundational level of business. And I know I certainly don't have any kind of business knowledge in a sense because I've never owned my own business. So definitely is helpful to get that perspective and, kind of learn from somebody that's in it. I always believe you don't take advice from people who aren't where you want to be. So,
well, advice can come from a lot of different places, but I definitely agree with you and understand where you're coming from from that perspective. But I do know that one of the things that with businesses, it's a journey, and there truly, you really don't want an end game to it. You want to continually acquire knowledge and realize that you're getting better over time. In the whole grand scheme of things, I don't think I'll ever reach the zenith of everything of where I could go. It's going to be a constant, journey, when you were talking about business. There's a lot of different arenas, and you're constantly learning. And on top of that, our economy, our way of life is constantly evolving. So, but yeah, that's it. And thank you for stopping in for the Power Hour. I met my cutoff time, staying on task, and that's what I'm going to definitely challenge myself to, is definitely staying on task this year. But each Thursday I'm gonna do this, and we'll talk different topic each week. Talk it through Thursdays, and man, thank you for being one of the first of many who've joined this movement. I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart, for real. So I'm gonna sign off. I got one more client that's about to come in, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
all right. Have a good day.
All right. You too.